FNCS Grand Finals just concluded, and this weekend we saw two of the best performances ever on both EU and NA, and we also got to see some insane day 2 clutches from teams with the 1.5 times points on day 2, and in this video I'm going to break down who performed well on both EU and NA, and cover who qualified to LAN on each region, as well as talk about some notable teams who did not play well this weekend, and also cover the teams who decided to split after Grand Finals. And before we get into this video, make sure to subscribe if you are just now finding my videos for the first time, or if you're finding my videos again and have yet to subscribe, and let's hit 10,000 subscribers this video. Now let's get into the recap. And starting it off, we're going to talk about the EU Grand Finals. And on EU this season, the top 5 teams qualified to the FNCS Global Championship later this year. And starting off with the FNCS winners, we have Swizzy and Vanyak on 888 points. This team absolutely dominated from start to finish on EU and are your FNCS champions. Swizzy now becomes a 2-time EU champion, and he's also a champion on Asia as well, honestly further proving that Asia is the best region, and Swizzy is now without a doubt the cross-region GOAT. I'm sorry, Muzz. Swizzy and Vanyak landed Brawlers Battleground this weekend, and this duo played out of their mind. The only game the entire weekend where they went down early and didn't place top 18, they actually got landed on, and then they wiped that duo off spawn, but then got cleaned up and sadly died off spawn. And without that game, would have gotten top 18 in every single match. So Swizzy and Vanyak really put on an absolute show for us this weekend. And then next in second place, we have Chap and Teeny on 637 points. Another insane performance, as this is Chap's first Grand Finals on EU. And this is actually the team I predicted to win EU, but sadly they got off to a pretty slow start on day 1, but battled it back on day 2 where I said this format would favor them with the 1.5 time points. And Swizzy and Chap were actually my first and second place predictions after I found out Malabuka was conned, but sadly they just got flipped in order. But either way, shout out to Chap for absolutely going insane in his first Grand Finals ever, and Teeny once again proving why he's the best controller player on EU, and potentially maybe the best controller player in the world if he can get a LAN placement. But shout out to this duo for an incredible performance this weekend. And moving on to third place, we have Seti and Cammy on 600 points. Seti and Cammy could have very well got second place this weekend, but a win was kind of out of the question because Swizzy and Vanyak performed as well as they did. It's crazy to think that this third place is probably pretty disappointing for Seti and Cammy because that's the level they hold themselves to, but this duo qualifies to the LAN with this third place, and we all know how good they are on LAN, so without a doubt they're going to be one of the favorites later this year. And then next in fourth place, we have Vadil and Rezon on 571 points. But Dio and Rezon were actually looking really good on day 2 until one game Queasy and Thomas HD actually camped their loot path and ended up eliminating one of them and pretty much ruined their momentum that game and made them get 0 points. So they probably could have finished second if that didn't happen to them. But either way, Vadil and Rezon actually had a pretty good comeback on day 2. They started in 10th place and then climbed all the way up to 4th place. And then moving on to our last team that qualifies to the FNCS Global Championship this season from EU. In 5th place, we have Andalex and Saito on 543 points. And this duo actually started day 2 in 46th place and then climbed all the way back into a top 5 LAN qualification spot by going absolutely crazy on day 2. They got a 12 elim second, an 8 elim win, and a 7 elim win in day 2 alone. And in the 1.5 times format, this is literally everything you need. And the crazy thing is, I'm pretty sure this duo actually tweeted out that they were going to split after day 1. And then on day 2 have a legendary performance to qualify to the LAN. So looks like they're not splitting anytime soon. And it's also good to see Andalex back up top placing good on EU, as he hasn't really been placing recently. So shout out to Andalex and Saito for not fully giving up after day 1 and locking in for day 2 and having a really good performance to qualify to the LAN. And then looking at the rest of the EU top 10, we have Merstash and Malabuka in 6th place, Queasy and Thomas HD in 7th place, Trulech and Chicho in 8th place, Fastroki and Robon in 9th place, and Walks and Pixie in 10th place. Now looking at Merstash and Malabuka in 6th place, this is actually a pretty disappointing placement for me personally from them. They had the Grimgate medallion uncon pretty much every single game of the tournament, outside of the last game where they died early. And it really sucks to see them only get 6th place with such conditions of getting the Grimgate medallion as much as they did. And then Queasy and Thomas HD getting 7th place while contested pretty heavily the whole entire tournament is pretty solid for the team that got 2nd place last season. 1st and 2nd place in EU FNCS Grand Finals last season, get 6th and 7th place this season. But now moving on, I want to talk about some notable teams that didn't quite perform on EU this weekend. We have Tayson and Vino in 11th place, and Tayson and Vino were actually very heavily predicted to get top 5. I even predicted them to top 5, and I knew I shouldn't have did it. Tayson and Vino for the 2nd straight season do not come top 10 as a duo together. Last season, they got 15th, and now they get 11th place. And it's not confirmed that they're going to split yet, but we could potentially be seeing this duo split this season and going their separate ways. I don't really know what it is with Tayson and Vino. They just have never seemed to gotten it going for me, and I haven't really seen too much potential from this duo. And I honestly think they probably should split and go their separate ways. Another team I want to talk about is Yanis and Flixie. Once again, underperforming with Uncon Reckless Railways, getting 20th place this season. I don't know what happened with Yanis and Flixie the past 2 seasons, but they just heavily underperformed in grand finals. And after this performance, they actually are going to split, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But Yanis and Flixie once again underperforming sadly and getting 20th place. And then probably the most surprising placement of the weekend, we have Vico and Pink in 32nd place. This is another team a lot of people were predicting to do quite well, especially with how they did last season. I even had Vico and Pink getting top 3 in my predictions, and sadly they don't even come top 30. And this is another duo that's going to end up splitting, and we'll talk about that more in a minute as well. Vico and Pink were a pretty solid duo throughout their tenure together, and it sucks that they're going to go out like this. And hopefully they both can find some pretty good duos and pop off and qualify to the LAN next season. Now I want to talk about some EU duos that have split. And so far we have Vino and Tayson, who aren't confirmed yet, but I think could potentially split. Pink and Vico, who are confirmed to split. Yanis and Flixie, who are also confirmed to be splitting. Cringe and Noms, who are also confirmed to be splitting, who actually started day 2 2nd place and then ended up not getting top 10. So sadly, they are going to be splitting as well. And then Voco and Vertexers are also going to be splitting on a U. And then we have the legendary Aqua, who tweeted out he's looking for duo for next season. So there's going to be a lot of potential new duos on EU next season. And next season has the most LAN qualification spots, so everybody's probably going to be trying to lock in and qualify to LAN next season, since it's going to be a top 10 to qualify to LAN. But let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on EU FNCS Grand Finals this weekend. Who surprised you? And also comment down below some duos you'd like to see form for next season and try to qualify to the Global Championship. And now let's move on to NA. And on NA, the top 3 teams qualified to the FNCS Global Championship. And once again, Peterbot and Poyo absolutely dominate NA, and they broke the FNCS Grand Finals record points that was 912 heading into the weekend, and they absolutely shattered that record, getting 1,092 points. They are the first team to ever get 1,000 points in FNCS, and they did it by getting 5 wins and also dropping 74 eliminations. And Peterbot also broke the single player elimination record for Grands, which was set by Cold, and he got over 50 eliminations this weekend. Peterbot and Poyo went on an absolutely generational run this season, winning every single Cash Cup and dominating every single Cash Cup. And then they also dominated FNCS Grand Finals as well. And a lot of people are saying it's because of the Grim coin, but we literally watched Murstache and Malabuka not even come top 5 while getting the Grim coin every single game on EU. So clearly Peterbot and Poyo are just that good, and with the Grim coin just become that much better. So shout out to Peterbot and Poyo for the legendary performances this season. And moving on to 2nd place, we have Ritual and Re on 753 points, who also qualified to the FNCS Global Championship as well this season. And Ritual and Re actually had a really good performance. They won 3 games, and sadly it's just not going to be talked about as much because Peterbot and Poyo put on such a show. And Ritual and Re are not going to win with such a good performance, sadly. And the craziest thing about Ritual and Re is that they actually split earlier this season when all the snake eating started happening. We had Ritual and Cooper as a duo, and Re was pretty much left out to dry looking for duo. And Ritual and Re end up getting back together and then qualifying. And the crazy thing is Cooper also qualified with his new duo as well. And speaking of Cooper, in 3rd place we have Kanata and Cooper on 692 points. Also qualifying to the FNCS Global Championship this season. And Cooper and Kanata also went through a lot this season as well. They were landing the yacht and their drop spot literally drove off the map and never returned. The yacht literally just disappeared. So they had to adjust their drop spot mid-season and start playing a lot differently. So shout out to Kanata and Cooper on qualifying to the FNCS Global Championship. And now looking at the rest of the top 10 on NA, we have Skittles and Trashy in 4th place, Acorn and Cold in 5th place, Bryce and Bolts in 6th place, Aviv and Chubbs in 7th place, Batman Booga and Rapid in 8th place, Baka and Pars in 9th place, and Yamzo and Rise in 10th place. And looking at this top 10, you're probably surprised why Yamzo and Rise are only in 10th place. They had a really bad day 1 and honestly started off day 2 not much better, and then finally got it together in the last 5 games, getting 3 straight top 6 placements. So Yamzo and Rise with a very disappointing placement for them, but they also had some drop spot trouble with the team apparently taking some of their loot. But now moving on to some notable teams that did not quite perform as expected. We have Aders and Booga in 13th, Clicks and Epicwell in 14th, and Mixon and Paco in 15th. Aders and Booga with a pretty disappointing placement, getting only 13th place. So overall a placement we would definitely not expect from them. And I'm actually not sure if this duo is going to continue to play. So we're just going to have to see how that plays out in the future. And then we also have Clicks and Epicwell in 4th place. And I knew they were probably going to disappoint some people who had them predicted pretty high, but I didn't expect them to disappoint this much. Clicks and Epicwell with a really sloppy Grands performance this weekend, and it honestly looked like they had absolutely no strategy and no plan going into the weekend. Clicks and Epicwell honestly just did not know how to play for Surge at all this season, and just a complete regression from what they did last season as a duo. I've been saying it for forever now, I think this duo should split, but they probably will not split. And I can understand why. They probably think they have some pretty good potential together. But throughout their entire tenure as a duo, I just think they haven't been able to piece together mid-game ever and have always looked sloppy in that aspect. And then in 15th place, we have the EU duo that came to NA this season, Mixon and Paco. Now this is actually probably where I would have placed them to place this season. 15th place sounds actually pretty good, but I wanted to cover them and show you where the EU team ended up placing. Not the greatest performance, but I can't really say I expected anything more or less from this duo. 15th place sounds just about right. And then also we had Visuals and Braids getting 18th place. And the crazy thing is they got 18th place in just 8 games played. They played 2 games on day 1 because Braid's PC actually decided to die on him. So the only 2 games they could play day 1, Visuals actually had to play those 2 games as a solo and ended up getting no points anyways. So basically they only played 6 games and still ended top 18. So if they got to play day 1, probably in top 10, which sucks, but an 18th place in just 8 games played is pretty insane. And then next in 19th place, another disappointing placement, we have Dukes and Marrow. Now this is the duo that actually caused all of the duos to split after FNCS Qualifier 1, and to only get 19th place is pretty disappointing, knowing that they caused 2 other players their entire FNCS, and those 2 players couldn't even queue Grands. So it sucks to see this placement, and this duo is actually already split, and the NA duos to have confirmed to be split so far are Aviv and Chubbs, Marrow and Dukes, and then we also have Aders and Booga, which are not confirmed to be split, but I think they probably will. And then we also have Scented looking for duo for next season. So there's about to be a lot of duo changes on NA, just like EU going into next season, as both regions are going to be top 10 to qualify to the Global Championship. And I want you guys to comment down your thoughts on NA FNCS Grand Finals. Which team surprised you in a good or bad way? And also let me know down in the comments below which duos you want to see play next season, and maybe team build in the comments and try to build a duo that you think would qualify to land and get top 10 next season. This season's FNCS Grand Finals was filled with some insane performances, and we're also going to be seeing a lot of change heading into next season with a lot of new duos. And there's also going to be a lot up for grabs as next season's going to be top 10 on both regions, as I just mentioned. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And let's reach 10,000 subscribers. And also make sure to like the video as well, as it would help it get pushed out to more people. Thank you for all the support recently, and if you stopped by the Twitch streams this weekend, thank you for the support, as we did an over 33-hour stream for Grand Finals. We watched OCE, Asia, EU, and NA. It was an absolute blast, and I want to thank you guys for all the support this weekend, and also thank you for all the support this season as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.